Guru Nation, what can I say? We're back. Ronik, thank you so much for coming back from SCRS conference. Record-breaking event. You literally took one for the team. Me and Chris appreciate the fact that you went. Not only was there like a tropical storm or slash hurricane that you had to contend with, but you got COVID, man. So you're doing better though. Glad to see.
Yeah, I've had a bad streak with conferences and picking up something unintentional every time.
Does anyone mask up anywhere at these things?
No, I didn't see anybody wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Yeah, no, just from the movies. It would have been cool for you to wear a mask during this for dramatic effect. But thank you so much for going and representing Patient Ace. And, I'm so excited about it. You know how I know Patient Ace is important for my site?
Hmm.
When through some technicalities of like we told you the study's over, and then we told you actually it's not, and then we kept flipping it on and off. That there's like a glitch now where it's not on. And like any day that it's not on, we're losing money.
Mm.
So that's how I know this thing is powerful, man. Like I'm even texting Lana's texting me right now, like, hey, make sure when you talk to Ronick, you ask him. Like
Mm.
we're very much on this. So I can't wait to let other sites experience the same thing and for what I think is reasonable price compared to the competition. And so thank
Yeah.
you for going out. First of all, thank you for creating this company and then letting me and Chris partner with you and going out and being an evangelist because I think it's important.
Yeah, I think it's something that's been really sorely needed. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
Beyond enjoying, I mean, it's putting money in our pockets, like
Yeah,
literally as a
that's
site.
always good to hear. When sites get results, that's always,
It's not
I
like
can't say
it's not like it's free money. Like it doesn't just fall. You don't push a button and money falls out of the sky. You still have way more no shows and screen fails than you would
sure.
like, but ultimately, compared to the others, like bang for buck, it's net positive and we're improving it too. Like you, especially behind the scenes, we're always looking for ways to make it better and it's only gonna get better in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
it's a work in progress, and it's about taking that feedback and seeing what else we need to do to make it easier.
yep, there's a lot. But before we get into that, specifics of that kind of stuff, just what was the overall theme? Were you sick at SCRS or you felt it after?
I felt it the day after, like I felt like, it started coming on during SCRS, but it wasn't until I got
Ah,
back and the next day it hit full on.
Ronick, I gotta ask, are you a drinker?
No.
I think you need to start incorporating like some hard liquor in your system at these conferences. I don't get sick because I think all the tequila shots I down,
Oh, really?
ain't no virus surviving that.
That's
You know,
funny. I
neither is
never
my
thought of that.
liver, but neither is the virus.
Pick your poison, right?
Pick your poison. Yeah, man. Okay, just was curious. What was the theme there though? Like what, record-breaking year for them, 1600 something.
Yeah, they
A lot
had
of people said it was too big. Did you get that feeling too, or were you okay with
well,
that size?
I don't mind the size so much, although I did notice that this was my second year attending. I attended several years ago, I think 2020. And I noticed that I didn't get a chance to meet everybody that I wanted to, even some that I knew from other places. I knew that they were there, but I didn't get a chance to meet everybody that I wanted to. So it was just a lot of people. So that's interestingly, I didn't know that it had started off as a very small, sort of maybe a couple hundred people when
Christine
it first
Pierre.
started.
Christine Pierre, rest
Yeah,
in peace.
yeah.
She was one of my first guests, like one of my first prominent guests on the
Oh,
podcast
nice.
back in
Okay.
2010, 2011, I think. And then,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
So
she passed.
I get the feeling that it used to be very intimate, like a small conference, similar to probably what SOS is
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
and very heavily site focused. But these things evolve, they change, and that's part of the process. But in terms of theme,
Yeah,
I,
like
don't-
what
I,
were people talking about? Like in a disproportionate amount, like it took you by surprise, maybe, if there was something like that.
so not necessarily talking about, but I did notice that there were a lot of new sites there. So that was good. There's a lot of new sites that are starting. A lot more site networks. There's always been, many site networks, but um, after the 3 or 4 year gap after I returned, it's just everybody is either starting a site network, part of a site network, selling a site network, growing a site network. That seems to be sort of the rage. A lot of them popping up, and so it kind of made me wonder. Is that sort of the future? Is that where most sites are going? Is that where the industry is going as a whole?
Yes,
Where
in short, yes. Now, the question is that gonna be good for the industry? I
yeah,
think that's like the real question. And then what are the
I think.
unintended consequences
Mm,
of this?
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen, and I think it just depends on the individual network. I
Yeah.
heard good things about certain networks. I heard not so good things about others. I think it's a very very specific to each individual network. Like I talked to a lot of the owners that had sold over the past several years, and some of them were like, yeah, we're very happy with the current site network, and some of them were like, man, they screwed it up really badly, and if I had to do it over again, I'd probably sell to somebody else, or
Hmm.
it was interesting to get that feedback.
Yes, it would have been for
So,
me. Like, I'm happy you went. I probably still wouldn't have gone if I given the opportunity again to SCRS, but if I have a regret, it's missing out on that
mm,
site network discussion. As somebody it's no secret, I'm vlogging about it. I'm actively looking to start one, perhaps,
mm,
if I'm lucky enough with some PE money. Learning best practices, why do those sites like really get under the hood? Why do you not like
sure.
it? And try to fix that. Kind of, it's
Mm,
similar to what, I mean, any tech, right? We're talking about conferences now, PatientAce, how we're kind of coming up and learning from the mistakes of those before us. Namely, it was, I think, exploitative in nature. Like, hey, we got this thing and you got to pay us because we're the only ones that do a decent job.
mm,
And now it's like, hey, it's more competitive. Like, what are you actually offering sites? Are you making it easier for sites? Like, I think we learn and we improve
sure.
and prices drop. I think there's gonna be parallels with the site network,
Mm,
as more of them come into the market. Like they have to have a better product for their customers. Ultimately,
yeah,
their customers are other sites initially, right? So I would have been interested in like exploring that further, but
sure. Yeah, and the term is also used very loosely. If somebody is doing biz dev for a bunch of sites, and they call it a site network,
yeah.
that's one thing. And then there's, the wholly integrated where it's wholly owned, wholly integrated. So lots of different flavors to that.
And
But
then
it's
hybrids.
everything in between. So
Mhm.
so that was good. I would say that the sponsor presence was fairly decent. I was glad to see that a couple of big names were there, and they were, a lot of them have a pretty extensive team for site relations, site engagement, and at least they're making the effort to be there and to have a presence and interact
Yeah,
with sites. So I thought that was good. I don't know what, in practice what it actually translates to in terms of, being able to solve problems and interact with, whoever
sure.
needs who I guess whoever sites are trying to reach within those sponsors. But it's a good effort, I think.
It's definitely a good effort. Earlier podcast today, I had a job recruiter on. She was a CRA for a decade and
Mm,
she was a hiring manager and then she created her own recruitment agency for staff. And she was telling me about the site networks now and that sponsors are gaining more control of the sites of the studies,
Okay.
and they want there's a
Mm,
concerted effort to have this direct line of communication with the sites. They noticed that, or they recognize that these last 2 decades or so, it's kind of been outsourced to CROs,
sure. Yeah.
and they're not okay with that anymore. And now that the technology's here, and especially at the bigger pharma, right? Like
Mm,
they're the ones you saw there. Like there
yeah.
was Takeda. Um, I'm happy to say Takeda's uh, probably going to be SOS sponsor as well. So there's a
Nice.
concerted effort amongst the pharma to get more involved with the sites, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing. And it's good to see. It's refreshing.
Yeah. What were some of the more memorable besides the site networks? Because you're like the third person I interviewed now that came back from there, and everyone said that site
Mm.
networks was number. Everyone mentioned that first. So I was curious what you were gonna mention. Besides that, what else were some interesting topics?
I think that a lot of the usual, like, diversity was a big topic. I think that's always been the case, but now with recent FDA guidance, I think it's again, sponsors are looking for solutions to that and looking for ways to sort of, fulfill those requirements and bring on more diverse patients and things like that. So that's
That's something we gotta
um,
figure out with PatientAce too. Like, I mean, sites first of all care that they're getting leads that are good, but if
sure.
we can get more sophisticated to where we can improve the diversity outcomes for the sites as
Yeah,
well,
so
like,
I did I was actually in one of the like I was listening in one of the panels. It was, I think it was AstraZeneca, and they were talking about diversity and recruitment. And we have several clients that are doing AZ studies, and one of I was just texting him during the conference, and I was asking him, hey, but, by the way, how diverse are the patients that you're getting from Patient Ace? And one of them said it's significantly more diverse than their normal. Like they get diverse patients anyway, but the Patient Ace patients are even more diverse than they normally get. And then another site said that it's about the same or maybe a little bit less diverse. So I think
mm,
we need to get more data and gather that data and see. But I think presumably you could increase your diversity because you're going outside your typical, referral sources, and trying to bring in people that are on the internet at large, or somebody who is just, maybe a casual social
right,
media user.
right.
So but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I noticed with our site too. I would say, what obviously when it's a Spanish ad, it's gonna
Mm,
attract only Hispanics. But when it's an English ad, I would say our site skews either same or more than
mm,
normal. Um, and if I had a gun to my head, I'd probably pick that it was more because, especially with one particular study that comes to mind, it's been like predominantly Hispanics, but also some African Americans. And I
mm.
know the African Americans typically are not from our traditional referral sources.
Interesting.
So that's patient ace right there. I mean, it's still few, but it's anecdotal. But I think
Sure.
that's another thing that as we improve the product, Ronick, like you've been experimenting with what creative works, right?
Mm,
And if we can always roll out more creative to see who it attracts, what
sure.
platform, what medium. So those are things we can always improve the product on and eventually
Yeah.
start tracking some of this like at the site level and then at the like meta level maybe.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of it is just, geographic area. If a site is in a diverse area, you're more likely to get more diverse patients, and you can sort of target within reason, within if they're within driving distance of your site.
Yeah. You know, it works for like for our CRA Academy. We've been running these little reels, like the
Hmm.
shorter videos.
Mm.
Just like either funny stuff or testimonials. So that'd be something interesting for us to maybe experiment
Yeah,
with at some point.
sure.
And especially when they're sponsor provided or sponsor gives the site the creative as long as you get it IRB approved to run it. But let's say we're
Mm,
running an ad just in general for our site. The beauty of Patient Ace is you can run multiple
mm.
studies under one creative. Like, hey, we have a depression and obesity studies. Like, reach out, and you can like simultaneously target without getting IRB approval, or you can go the formal IRB approval route on the study specific. So we try to give the sites like more options.
Yeah, the it's I call it a portfolio approach. So basically, you can do multiple studies and even general ads just for your site without paying, per study or per ad per campaign. You just, it's a flat rate. So sites can experiment there and see what works for them.
Have we messed around with TikTok yet or not yet?
No, I think before we get into, I mean, it's on the list.
Yeah.
Before we get into TikTok, we'll probably do some work with Google
Ah,
and those are for some of the more um, harder to recruit studies. I think those tend to be better, but they're just a little bit more expensive typically
yeah. Yeah.
for the ad spend.
And you're just talking about Google regular AdWords, like not
Mhm.
YouTube. You're just talking regular Google search.
Yeah, Google AdWords. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I could see how that could get the long tail on the rare disease or more
Yeah,
difficult.
because I mean it's rare disease, but then on top of that you have, you want somebody local to you. So we'll have to experiment with it to see how effective it can be for different indications.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember on one of our central ad campaigns we did, not with PatientAce. This was before
Hmm.
we even knew what PatientAce was.
Mm,
There was a big central recruitment firm, and it was actually one that was doing well, and we were getting the demographic of like 60-year-old, African American female, which again is atypical for
mm,
what we've been getting. I
sure.
asked her, I said, "Where did you see our ad?" And she said, "TikTok." And
Interesting.
this was
Okay.
like 2 years ago, and that's when I started first thinking, well, I think TikTok has matured because like
Was it an indication specific ad or
yeah,
just a
it was
general?
osteoarthritis. So they got
Interesting.
IRB approval and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Um,
I might still have access to that portal. It's been like a year and a half now since
mm,
enrollment ended, but I did export all the leads, which every site should do.
yeah.
Any good site should do, and then follow up with those patients because those are people in your community that have already expressed interest in studies, and there might
Mm,
be future studies.
yeah, for sure.
But that's when to me, TikTok was like, okay, maybe it's like already matured, even though we
Mm.
tend to associate it with like teenagers and young adults. But
Yeah, I mean that's surprising for something like osteoarthritis. I would have
yeah,
guessed that.
I know.
Did
Me,
you guys get a lot of in general a lot of
to
response
be
for that?
honest with you, man, that ad saved our site,
Really?
our study, not our
Wow.
site. That was
Okay.
they were an SOS
Now you
sponsor,
got me really
so
interested.
I'll
Okay.
give them a shout out. It was One N Health.
Okay.
That's when they first came on my map.
Mm,
And the sponsor did a split test between One N Health and I believe Study Kick. So
okay.
the sites were randomized into one of those cohorts, right? So
Yeah.
I had no choice. We got put into
You
the
got what
One
you
N
got. Yeah.
Health cohort, and we're like,
Sure.
okay. I even told my coordinator because she was new. I said, Daisy, she now works for Lee, by the way.
Mm,
Daisy, this is like sponsors do these crazy things with these site central recruitment. They're gonna be annoying. They're gonna query you. But just try it. I
yeah.
usually don't have good experiences, but this is your job now.
That's good.
And she kept scheduling people, and I was like, wow, this thing's really working.
That's awesome.
And if it wasn't for that, 'cause this study was so hard, we would have maybe had one rando, and instead we ended up with five. And they were
Wow.
very
Okay.
tough, like 90% screen fail rate. So to get those five, you had to like screen like 50. I
Yeah.
think the actual
You know
number
that
was like
that's really
45.
what I noticed between the sites that do really well on PatientAce and the ones that don't do so well is really the the effort that the sites put in to actually make the most of it. So it's not a magic button, and whenever like sites think that they could just like, okay, it's just going to be, we don't have to do anything and they're going to like
Yeah.
be amazing. I mean, we can help the process, but the biggest thing is one, we, they have to obviously call the leads and whatnot. But the other thing is if it doesn't work right away, we need to get that feedback so we can make adjustments. Like, the
Yeah.
sites that say, okay, well, it didn't work, and then, put their hands up, that doesn't really help. But
Right.
if they say, okay, well, this didn't work, can we do this? Or, can we, the more feedback we get, the better we can actually improve. I mean, because that's just marketing in general, how it works, right? It's a
Right.
feedback loop. And the more we learn about the results, the more we can tweak it and try to make it better.
Yeah, and we're super hands-on and we're going to be growing the team, so that's something we're both pretty excited about. We can't do it all by ourselves.
Yeah,
We're here to grow the team but our first cohort of sites, the first 12 or whatever, so far pretty happy with the product. I'm one of them. So we know it works because again, when it's not on, we're like, what's going on? We know we need to we need these leads coming through. So it's a good product in my opinion.
yeah. That's the other thing I'm surprised to see is that a lot of a lot of the users, like, we don't do a multi-hour full training. We just kind of go through it like, okay, this is where the leads come in, this is how you respond, and just kind of a basic, because the important thing is just get started and start using it. But what I found is a lot of the sites, they just there's so many features that they just kind of pick it up on their own. And I think I was telling you, even at your site, like, they've picked up on some of the features, and it's like, oh, did I tell you about that one? Like, oh no, I just kind of figured it out.
Oh yeah, Lana was
And
playing
so, yeah,
around with
Lana
it.
figured it out, and that's not uncommon. That's happened several times, so that's always good to see.
Yeah. And then through those accidental discoveries, we end up making it less accidental for the next user. So it's like
Sure, yeah.
constantly reiterating or
Because I mean, no
iterating
one
on the
wants to do
improvement.
like, okay, sit through this, like, 3-hour training and learn everything, and then
Right,
use nothing. But
right.
it's intuitive enough that, okay, well, when you click on this, it probably will do this.
Yep. How are things going on your Ronek's also a site owner, by the way, for those that are not familiar. His LinkedIn's underneath the video or in the show notes. Everybody go connect. How's the site? How are things going on the site front?
It's we have one study that's been in that we've been like waiting for, like the whole startup
Yeah,
phase. It's been one thing or another. So I mean, I think that's
yeah.
par for the course. But it's just
That's how it starts.
yeah, this one's it's a little bit more complex because it involves some surgical intervention. And so there's more contracts, there's more training, there's more
Yeah.
vendors to deal with, and so it's a little bit slower than I'd like, but that's the world of sites that we live in.
Tell me about it, man. I'm in forever startup mode on one study for COPD, and hopefully this week or next week we can start screening. But
Yeah, I did uh I did have some good contacts for study leads at SCRS. So I think that was good from that
okay.
standpoint too.
Okay, very good. Very good. Well, so a lot of site owners, a lot of topics on site network, diversity, sites sharing leads. Sounds like a good conference, worthwhile.
Yeah, I would say so. I would definitely go again. I think it's
You
worth
go
it.
to any of the parties?
I didn't know about, so they apparently one of the network, they had a yacht.
Oh yeah, that's
There
the
was a yacht
one
party.
you gotta be invited, no? It's not
I
like
think the first,
SOS
yeah,
where
for
everybody
for the
goes.
first night it was invite only. I think the second night was everybody, but then by the time, you know,
I
we
see.
by the time I found out about it, it was close to being over. But
They had
next
a
year for
yacht.
sure.
Get 100 people on a yacht and
Yeah,
see what happens
yeah.
in the middle of
So
the
that
ocean
was interesting.
with a hurricane approaching. Or What
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea. Site network. Cool. Well, Ronick, listen, man, it's always great to catch up with
Yeah,
you and
likewise. Nice catching up.
everybody go connect right now. And if you're interested in learning more about Patient Ace, I'll reach out to either myself or Ronick and we'll treat you right.
Awesome.
Bye bye, everybody.
Take
Go
care.
follow Ronick right now.